tonight we want to talk about barn finds. And somebody wrote me just like 2 days ago and said, "Oh, why don't you do something about what should you do 1, 2, 3, 4 when when you're trying to you've got a barn find." And of course, I sent along in that email a picture of a parts car on a trailer. And also an MGB with a different colored door. They look pretty tough. But sometimes, it's either your family car or a friend's car or something you've stumbled upon, and it's like, oh my gosh. And you look at the car, maybe the car is a parts car. Maybe all you want out of it is the engine, if the engine's good. But maybe you think to yourself, maybe, this is complete. Maybe it'll work out. Maybe I can get this thing back on the road. So what should you do? 1, 2, 3, 4. So first of all, you got to clean it. I mean, first of all, you got to get the mice out of it. There's always mice, always rodents in it. You got to get the mice out of it. And once you get all the mice out and you've used a vacuum cleaner and a blowgun with your air compressor and blowing everything out that you possibly can, then it's time to either leave it on the trailer and take it to the quarter car wash, or get out your power washer at the house and power wash everything. Take one wheel off at a time, jack it up, power wash up underneath the wheel well as far underneath as you can. Get the wheel itself, just get the thing clean. And that also goes for the under bonnet area. The only two things you don't spray directly into with a power washer is the alternator. No point in spraying in there. That costs you $100 if it fails. And there's no point in spraying on the distributor real heavily. Although you can dry, the water doesn't hurt the distributor. You can dry it out later on, but make sure that you get all the mouse nests out of it before they get wet. Because if the nest gets wet, then it gets matted and you can't get it out very easily. And some of those mouse nests, especially on an MGB, in that double firewall that's about 3 inches wide, sometimes that can be a real problem, and it gets all nasty and soppy wet in there, and you cannot get rid of the smell. So you want to get it clean first. Then, of course, everyone wants to know, oh boy, is it going to run? Is it going to run? So the trick on making it run is to decide whether you're going to just check the engine out, or are you going to want to drive it? If you want to drive it, you've got to make sure some of the brakes are, I mean, come on. You got to make sure some of the brakes are working. I'm just going to drive it around the block. Well, you got to make sure something's working. You got a firm pedal. MGBs, the rear brakes freeze up all the time. T-types, MGAs, the rear brakes freeze up pretty commonly. And if you're going to drive it, you've got to be able to stop it. It goes back to my list of the most important things on the car, the three most important things: the brakes, the steering, and the brake lights. But again, if you're just going for, you want to see, oh, is the engine any good or not? Remember, there are 5 factors that define whether an engine is good or not, and that is the compression. Well, if you just check the compression on a car that's been sitting for 30 years, 2 of the cylinders are going to be zero. It's just the way it is. They're rusted. The valves have been sitting open. One valve in each cylinder has been sitting open for 30 years, and it's got rust on it, and you can't get any compression in there. If you get the car going, when you get the car going, then the valves will bang against each other and knock the rust off and will seal back up. But you must run the engine before you make a determination on the compression. Got compression, you've got the oil pressure. What's the oil pressure? Well, when you start it off, when you're cranking, it might be really high, but then after it gets warm, and it's run for a while, maybe the high end oil, I don't care about the idle oil pressure, but the high end oil pressure, that's got to be up at 60, 70 pounds on all of our cars. I don't know about Pat Garrity's TA. But he's just doing the carbs, but I don't know how high those run. But X-Bag engines, 1939 through 1955, those run up around 60, 70 pounds also. Then you got to know about water leaks. Does it leak water? Well, that's going to be pretty obvious right away when you put coolant into the radiator and it either runs out or it doesn't. Worst case is it runs inside the sump, and then that engine is not good for for a replacement engine. You've got oil consumption. Now, this is the tricky one. How in the world are you gonna figure oil consumption? If you crank the engine up, if you get it running and crank it up to use your throttle screws and run it up to 2000 RPM and let it idle for an hour at that speed, do not walk away from it. Don't do that. If one of the water hoses bursts and it runs out of water, you'll burn the engine up. So you have to hang by it. It seems tedious, but you got to hang by it while it's running. Then maybe you can tell if it's leaking. Maybe you can tell if there's any oil consumption, only because the exhaust is is very, very oily, very, very black. And lastly is the condition of the camshaft. So that you can check whether the engine is run or not. So those are the considerations whether the engine's good or not. So somebody says, "Oh, I got the car, ran when parked, and the engine's good." What does that even mean? Yeah, a good engine, the one I like the best is a tired engine. What's a tired engine? What does that even mean? In those five factors. So you get the thing up and running, you get it, you check it for oil leaks, but you really don't know what the oil consumption is. You really don't. There's no way to tell. So when Craig West was up here a couple of months ago, he had a car that we brought back after it wasn't a 30-year nap, it was only 25, or maybe it's 26. And just as a matter of course, we dropped the sump and changed the bearings. Just did it. I didn't even, because we weren't going to argue about the engine and so forth. We just wanted to get it back up and operational. It had run when parked. He drove it. He drove it into where it was parked, or his sister-in-law did. But it hadn't run in all that time, and there is deterioration that happens with dirty oil. But if you're just getting the thing up and running, that that's what you can do. So uh, the interesting Ullman sent this to me um, about cleaning up the body. The first thing you do when you look at a car and you go, "Oh boy, I'm going to restore it. I'm going to make it look really nice." Well, painting it, doing body work and painting an MGB body and MGA bodies or more. T-types are expensive too, but the B body and the A body, oh my God, you can go through in a body shop, in a regular body shop, not a guy in his backyard, who may do a very, very nice job. I don't mean to demean that, but just in a regular body shop, you can run through anywhere from $10,000 to getting the car painted with some rust repair. So that's a lot of money. So maybe instead of getting the car repainted, you just clean it up. This is the exterior now, of course, we're talking about, but maybe you just clean it up. There are a series of Meguiar's products, but you can also use household cleanser like Comet to remove the dead paint from the car. We had a guy come in one time from maybe Flint, something like that, with a TF. I want to get my car all painted and everything. I said, you know, we'll do anything you want, sir. But geez, the car looks pretty good the way it sits. Why don't we just clean it up? So we took off everything off the car that came off easily. That is all the chrome, the handles, the windscreen, the bonnet latches, the tail lights, anything that had a rubber grommet gasket underneath it. We cleaned up the body, we had it buffed out by a professional shop and touched up a little bit. And then we put all the new gaskets back on. And geez, the thing it looked it had this all I want to do is call it a fake patina. It had this wonderful look to it. Looked like the guy kept it under a cover, and it was like perfect because of those gaskets and because it was all cleaned up. You could tell, I mean, you could tell it wasn't like a brand new paint job, absolutely not. But it looked original. So it had been worked pretty heavily. So other systems in the car that you got to work with are the electrics. The mice get the electrics. You know, you don't know where that problem is unless you actually see it. You're going to change the battery and clean the fuse box. So I put a picture of the fuse box in the letter that went out under constant contact. You take the fuse box off, clean it, and put it back on again. Put a new battery in it. And then you've got things like the seats and the interior, and oh boy, you want to get that stuff so clean. You want to take the seats out of the car if you can, if you're actually going to keep it and drive it and get those things ventilated, maybe put in some new pads. We had a car come in one time that had been stored for too long, and the mice had actually tunneled, literally tunneled. I mean, a hole like that big, tunneled through the seat foam on a like a 77 MGB. Why would they eat the foam? I don't know. They were mining the foam, I guess. Um, anyway, it wasn't obvious um, from the outside, but the seats felt kind of funny. You know, just had a funny feel to them. Anyway, getting those seats stripped down and cleaning that stuff off, that can be really nice. Um, but again, when you start off on the project, you say, well, either I want to get it up on the road the way it is, a rolling restoration, or you say, you know what, I don't care, I don't have to make the engine run because I'm gonna rebuild the engine because I'm gonna here this car looks perfect to me and I'm just gonna take every single part and redo every single part. Well, if you're gonna do that kind of approach, then all this other prep is not necessary. And lastly, if you're if you're looking for a piece out of it, the differential, um, does it make sense to get the car fired up and go out and drive it at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour to see if the differential whines, if that's the only thing you want out of the car? Or does it make more sense to assume that, yeah, the differential's probably okay, most of them are, and just do a swap? So anyway, that's it. That's my real fast introduction here about barn finds. But I'm interested to hear from you on from all of you on your experience in bringing a car back, or maybe something bizarre you've run into. Like when Theo Verbrugge was at our shop, we used to strip out a couple of cars a year, more than in the beginning. It was like a car, we'd strip out a car every month. It was that we'd buy them from the owners that had been wrecked and stuff. And we had a little garage up the street on down the street on Eastern Avenue, but up the hill. And there was a guy that also rented that same building, and he kept possums inside a tin can, and then I guess he ate them. But anyway, one of the possums got out of the garbage can and had found a home up underneath the dashboard. And Theo's up underneath the dash, kind of starting to work on some stuff, and he hears this hiss, and hears this animal looking down at him. Oh, small furry creature. That's what he hollered out. So anyway, I'm done with this part. So I'm interested to hear some of your stories or suggestions on how to take care of this.
Well, John,
Yeah.
we
Hey, yeah.
how you doing?
Your car never
You
sits long enough to be a barn find.
but we did get a job. In fact, I called you on it a few years ago. It was a 52 TD Mark II, sat under a cover for 33 years outside. It wouldn't run. So you said if the engine turns over, it'll start. So it was true. We did everything we had to do. We got the generator working. Had to put a whole new interior in because there was things living in there. Something crawled up the muffler and died. And there was little tiny seeds when we pulled out a spark plug. One of the cylinders had little tiny seeds in it. But anyway, we got it. We did everything we had to do, new brakes, everything. And Gloria went pulled the starter, and I'm standing out there. It's not starting. I grabbed the linkage, and it was hot. This car has no ground. Got a big crowbar made of temporary ground. It started immediately after 33 years. So Gloria crawled under and says, "Yeah, the ground strap goes from the body to the frame." And so for 33 years, it sat there because when they put a new clutch in, they didn't hook the ground up in the right place. But I'm telling you, I was amazed that that car ran hardly smoked at all. The guy drove it home. In fact, he ran out of gas, but the body was in good shape. Just the paint was bad. I thought, don't paint the car. It's only original once. If you want to keep it nice, you can put a clear coat on it or something. But car just ran great. And it was a Mark II, so apparently it was a little different suspension setup, but it was kind of fun doing it. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we got it on the road. But 33 years from a ground strap.
There, yep. When Caroline and I bought her original MGB GT, we bought it from a guy who just had a clutch done, parked it in his backyard, and never started it again. It's like, geez, and the car had settled and settled and settled into the dirt. There's a lot of rust on the bottom of that car. We finally had to retire the vehicle after, oh my gosh, we bought that, must have been around 83. By 99, it was done. We just didn't, it seemed folly to keep fixing it. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure when you can bring them back up.
We did a 1980. The guy bought new, and for the last 20 years, he parked in his mother's garage, and he had to move it. And he had talked to me a few years before that, and about 5 years before that, and he finally called me. He said he had his car three different mechanics. They all ripped him off, told him things that weren't true. One of them stole his electronic distributor, put an old points distributor in there where all the screws were. They were shot. They just came out. So anyway, we got that running, and that was amazing that those cars, they're relatively simple. And so it took us a while. We got it running. He didn't have a sending unit in the gas tank. So I told him, Dave, put gas in the car. You don't. We'll send away for a sending unit. It may take a week or two. A couple of days later, he calls me up. He's upset. I had to have a car towed. It wasn't running. I said, Dave, he knew nothing about cars. Dave, go out, lift up the bonnet, and tell me how much gas is in the clear uh, filter. There isn't any. I said, Dave, you ran out of gas. I told you to put gas in it. But again, 20 years it sat, and it ran great once you got it going. And we had to buy a few things for it, but he was the happiest guy in the world. And he's called me a couple times, and finally I said, that card of mine you have, tear it up. He said, no, I'm calling you again. So, but it feels so good to get a car, it's been sitting so long to get it running and driving.
You can have a really good time. I had a TF one time that came in from the Upjohn family in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They've been bought out by I can't think what the name of the firm is, but it was a big firm in Kalamazoo, and car had been a family car and just hadn't been used for a dozen years. And I just took every single thing off the car, cleaned it up, put it back on, so it wasn't really a barn find. They'd been, sitting in the owner's barn or something or other for quite some time. But yeah, we got the thing all done. He hit the starter and started right up. And they drove it. Now, a friend of theirs drove it. I think the owner lived in I don't know, Wisconsin or Minnesota, and they took the ferry across. Had a real good time. Except that she had an ectopic pregnancy and passed out pa passed out on the trip to wherever it was, to Minnesota. And the husband looks over at her, and she looks like a piece of notebook paper, So he quick drove to the hospital and literally saved her life. That just there's all kinds of stories that go with MGs.
Hey,
So
John, this is
yeah,
Judd.
yeah.
If you've got a motor that you don't have any knowledge whatsoever about the history of it, do you, let's say it'll turn either by the crank or whatever, do you do anything special before you try to start it? I mean, my first thought is putting some lubricant in the cylinders. I don't know if that's necessary or not. I'm just wondering if that's something to do. I've restarted a couple of cars that have sat for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5, and you can usually get them running. And then I've got a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, well, usually I just take the spark. Usually, you just take the spark plugs out, take the spark plugs out so it spins over really easily, real quickly, and just make sure there's oil in there, and just spin it, on about 20 seconds at a time. I don't know what the duty cycle is on a starter motor, but I don't leave it engaged for 3 minutes, but run it for about 20 seconds and then try it again and again. And eventually you get oil pressure. Once you got oil pressure, then all you need is spark and gas, and it'll start up, and you can determine from there.
Okay, that sounds really good. Thank you. I've
Hey,
forgotten
John.
what the follow-up was, so I guess I'll come in later.
Here we are, the ravages of age. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
hey, John.
Hello,
yeah.
John.
Oh, Fred, I want to talk to you about next time. You missed our last one about
I
tuning.
I'm sorry about that.
It's okay, tuning for speed, but I want to catch you for at the end. We can set up a time because I want to talk more about working with SU carburetors to get the airflow better. I mean, the cheap trick, you just go to the next largest size carburetor. But the fun is extracting the power out of the original stuff. So
Yes, yes.
anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So
Hey, John.
my
No,
my
I'm
main
I'm
thing
I'm
is
on I'm on with Fred right now. Just a second, Randy.
my main thing on cars that have not run for a long, long time. My first thing, even before trying to start them, is I turn the engine through to make sure it's not stuck somewhere. You want to do that before you try and crank it over, because I had an MGB that a friend of mine gave me. And I figured, well, the engine must be good. I mean, the body was all rotted, but I turned it through and it stuck, in one spot. So I took the rocker cover off and whacked all the the top of each uh,
Valves.
valve with a hammer, and then they freed it up, and I was able to turn it through. And that's so I saved the engine. Like somebody else mentioned, do you put oil in there first? Well, I put some oil in each of the cylinders because it's been sitting for a long, long, long time. I have no idea, probably 20 years at least. And so then I made sure that there was no sticky valves. It's stuck open anyway. You know, stuck closed is not such a bad thing. Stuck open is a bad thing. So anyway, I got that freed up. So now the engine's sitting there in my shed, ready for future investigation. But that's the first thing I do is I'll make sure that it's not stuck somewhere in the turning over process before I proceed. Now the second thing is a friend of mine had a TF. He'd been running it off and on. He'd owned it since '72. He rebuilt the engine in '72, but he was getting older, hadn't run it very often, and the rear brakes were stuck. So I did the rear brakes, got them unstuck, got all the brakes working, So then we went to try and start it. We got it started, but it started up and ran fine. But about like 3 weeks later, a month later, we went to start it. No compression in two cylinders. So then we investigated. Turned out that two of the valves are stuck open. There's so much gum on the valve stems from old gas, and the fresh gas lubricated that, softened it up, and they stuck open. So I had to take the head off, clean all the valves, freed them up. Then it ran fine after that. So just
Yeah,
because a car has been sitting doesn't mean that you can just start it up.
correct. Correct. A corollary to that is what happens when the engine's frozen.
Yeah.
I claim that we were never thwarted in thawing out a frozen engine. And in almost, well, in the cases that we've done, that we dealt with it, the starter motors are always on the right-hand side, T types and A's and B's. And you take the cylinder, you take the spark plugs out and shoot something in there, some kind of penetrant. The breakaway, that's the Napa stuff, or PB Blaster. Everybody's got their own fantasy about what to use, kerosene and Marvel Mystery Oil. Oh boy, there's no end to the possibilities. You take off the generator, maybe the heater control valve, the distributor, and the starter motor. So the whole side of the engine is absolutely open and free. And then you use a breaker bar that's like, I can't even, like that long. I mean, a 2.5, 3 foot long pry bar, and you wedge it between the backing plate and the teeth on the flywheel and nudge it clockwise, and then nudge it anti-clockwise. Doesn't move, wait till the next day, try it again. Doesn't move, wait till the next day, try it again. We did that on Bob Pingree's TF. The first time I said, I'm not going to take this engine apart. I'm going to free it up. And I think it took maybe 2 weeks. You just go over and you try it. Sometimes you try pretty hard for it. One day it moved. I got that flywheel to move it moved just a bit. And hey, I'm home free. And so we walked it because it only sticks in one spot where the rings have rusted against the cylinder wall. And we walked the whole thing around. And of course, there's all that damage on the cylinder wall that's going to hold oil, and yeah, it's going to smoke and everything. But I mean, doing a T-type engine, I just talked to a guy who was looking at rebuilding a TR6 engine, and the engine shop told him maybe it's to take the engine in and out too and put a clutch on and everything. Told him $21,000. So, it's like it used to be when I left full-time business, it was $1,000 a hole. A B engine was $4,000. A MGC engine was $6,000. But it's a lot more now. So maybe you buy oil instead of that. But anyway, I've always been successful in freeing up a frozen engine, except once, and that was a Midget 1500, that when we took the sump off, looked like it had been underwater. Literally, it would not go. Then once you get the engine free, and you want to make sure it's really free, and the brakes are working, you put a tow strap on the front of the car, tow it with another car around the block at 20 miles an hour in second gear, and all those pistons are going up and down, and everything loosens up. So you get oil pressure, it's great, and then you can go ahead and put all that stuff back on and start it up. So, and another comment about the valves that are stuck open. You can take the spark plugs out and feed cotton rope down inside the cylinder and turn the engine over by hand. And the rope will get compressed, push, and push against the valve and maybe push the valve closed. But that's not a long term, usually not a long term solution. especially if you've got those gold colored manganese bronze valve guides in there that gall the valves. Everybody thought those were the neatest things since sliced bread, but they weren't. And everyone's gone back to the cast iron guides. So
My TC when I bought it, it was about 10 years before since it had been worked on. I bought it. It was partially disassembled because the guy I bought it from was going to rebuild it. So I got it and brought it home, and of course, two of the freeze plugs were popped out. So that was one of the first things to check. As you say, if you pour fluid into it and it's leaking out, you know. But I just did a visual check first and saw that they were going to be leaking. So I had to pull the engine out and pull those off and do all those. But the other thing was that you were talking about turning over an engine using the crank nut. I mean the damper nut, right? Well,
no.
This one was sheared off.
Oh,
It was
geez.
sheared off, so I had to make a special tool to drill out the center of the nut. You know, once I did that, it came out really easily. But trying to get to it was a pain in the ass. But anyway, I was able to back that out and then put a new one in. But somebody had obviously tried to turn it over, you know, with the crank nut, and they sheared it off.
I think that's like a 5/8 bolt down there too. It's massively
Yeah,
huge. But
yeah.
if you put a 4-foot cheater bar on there, hey, you can snap that off. Yeah. So no, I didn't say to do that. I'm putting that breaker bar down through the starter motor hole against the flywheel teeth.
Ah, the teeth. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Randy,
John, sorry, John. I'm just looking at a barn find right at the moment in Oregon, and I've got photos of the car, and it seems to be in reasonable condition. But do you drain before you do anything? Do you drain the fluids? Do you drain the petrol? Even if before you try and get anything to work, it would be nice to, I don't know how long it's been sitting. He says they parked it, something went wrong with it, they parked it and haven't touched it since.
right? So there's still something wrong with it.
Yeah.
But whatever, and it may have been as simple as the wire fell off the distributor. I mean, who knows? But yes, yeah, you'd want to drain the fuel out, and sometimes the old fuel pumps will continue to work, but you got to get that old fuel out of there. You can either pump it out with the SU pump, or most of the tanks have got a drain plug on them, so you can drain, and then of course you're looking at this stuff dripping out, and it's nasty and vile. But again, this is just to get it up and going to make a determination. I mean, does the engine works, the clutch works, the gearbox work? Because if you go into those blind, I mean, once you open it up, take an engine that you say, well, I'm not going to, I'm just going to rebuild it anyway. Well, you're going to rebuild everything because anything you look at is faulty. One of the
Yeah.
lifters is chipped, so you might as well get new lifters. Or if you're going to get new lifters, you got to get a cam, and a chain, and a tensioner, and you're looking at the crank, and yeah, but probably ought to put new bearings in it. And then if you plastic gauge them, and you go, well, probably ought to have the crankshaft ground. You're doing the whole engine, so yeah, I would drain, you got to push brake fluid through to all the corners to find out which corners are frozen, because they're always bees, they're always frozen in the back. Even people driving the cars have not a clue that they're frozen, because 2/3 of the braking is done in front anyway. So the car dives a little bit more when you hit the brakes, but you really, you don't notice it. Um, but
How
yeah,
do you tell? This is a 69, and they say it's got an overdrive transmission in it. Did the 69 have the switch on the gear lever, or did it have it on the column?
on the column, it's on the
Okay,
column from 68
that's why I
through
can't tell.
76.
Right.
77 through 80, they put the thumb switch on it, and
Okay.
prior to that, it's on the outside of the dash. So where are you calling from? Vancouver or what?
No, California,
Oh, all right. Okay.
San Francisco. It's up in just north in it's about 4 hours north. But I've
Okay.
got photos of it. It's just they've gone. We we drove it in. We parked it because something was wrong with it. Haven't touched it since, and now they just want to dispose of it.
It's a pig in a poke. It's a $1,500 car. It's $1,000 car, right? Because
Yeah,
it's yeah.
absolutely.
Because you don't know what you're buying.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a 78B, and I'm thinking even if I can just get the transmission, because it's an overdrive transmission, if I can
Yes.
get the transmission and put it in the 78B, I'm going to be ahead.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You've got a speedometer issue there.
Yeah.
That the original that 68 overdrive gearbox drives the speedo at 1,280 turns per mile, and your speedo is clocked at 1,000 turns per mile. And I don't know if West Valley Instruments can change the guts on the 77 through 80s or not. There's a couple of different ways to approach that. An induction box, a Stewart Warner box, someplace in the cable, or go to electronic. But that is going to be an issue. Otherwise, it's going to be reading 25% high. So.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. Randy,
Another,
Randy was trying to come in a couple of times ago. Randy, you still there from Virginia?
Yep, I'm here, John.
Okay. Yeah, there we
John,
go.
I recently bought a family GT, originally owned. They parked it in 1985, a great running car next to a
I'm I'm
barn.
I'm
The
having
right side.
yeah, stay closer to your microphone. I'm having a hard time getting hearing you.
I,
Start over.
I recently bought a '73 GT.
Okay.
It's a family car that was parked in 1985 in good running, had about 60,000 miles on it. The right side of the car was parked next to a barn. The barn caught on fire, scorched the whole right side of the GT, and messed up the wiring harness. All right, I know that the engine turns over, took the valve cover off. It runs over, turns over nice and easy. But my question is, can I jump starter with a bad harness so I can do some compression checks before I pull the engine out?
Sure, sure, absolutely. Just to make the car run, you've got a battery someplace there, to spin the engine over. I can't believe the original starter motor cable would be melted, but I don't know how bad the fire was. But you got to get the starter motor, so you use jumper cables there, and then you got to get some sort of fuel feed either back to the fuel pump or another fuel pump, one of those inline pumps just from a gasoline can. So you can power that. And you only need a hot wire to go to the hot side of the coil, and the negative side of the coil goes to the distributor. That's all you need.
John, I don't plan on doing that. I just wanted to have the engine turn over to check compression.
Okay,
I'm not trying to start it in the car
okay,
because I
but
want to pull the engine and save it for another car.
okay, all right. But remember that if you check the compression, it's all gonna be wonky because when the engine shuts off, no matter where the engine shuts off, two valves are always open and those will rust up. So when you check the compression right at the get-go, 120, 20, 120, 20,
Got
something
it.
like that. And if you just make it run, it'll bang itself back into place, and it'll also tell you if you got good oil pressure. You don't know that they don't know why they may know why they stopped driving it, and it's probably okay at 60,000. Although before I'd use that engine, I would certainly take the sump off and change three of the five mains and the four rods. Just in the oil pump, just as a matter of course. I wouldn't, as a matter of course, change the rings because that's so much more complicated. But I sure would change the bearings.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
John,
Yes.
My mentor taught me one thing before we did everything. That was to drain the oil, drop the oil pan, pull a cap off, take a look on the journals to make sure that you didn't have a spot of rust on any of the journals. Because if you turn that engine over, you're going to wipe the bearings out, especially if they're Babbitt. Then we went ahead and we would change all the fluids on there, dump a little gas down the carburetor, see if she starts that way. We did that with a 53 Chevy that we found out in the field bird hunting in South Dakota. In fact, I was Irene, South Dakota with my mentor, and did that. We worked out the deal with the farmer picking it up. We did all that, started right up, pulled her on the trailer, and took it on home. The worst car I have ever worked on. I mean, I swear at this car. I worked on the early teens, the 30s, 40s, 50s, is the damn MGA. I really hate that car. I'll tell you, you can pick up fenders for a Model T, Model 8, no problem at all. Try to find a perfect fender for an MGA front or rear. You can't.
No, no.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'm doing right now, I've got the body repaired. I've gone ahead and painted the body. I'm working now on the chassis part. I doing the front hubs. My God, I took one look at that and I'm looking at myself, how in the heck did they get those things out? Finally worked it out. In fact, Fred helped me on that part right there.
Good.
I moved over onto the differential now. I got the differential off the car and everything. I'm going to replace the pinion seal on the front. I figure that's got to be done anyways because the was put in storage in 1972, and I'm working on it now. What I don't know is on the wire hubs in the back. I'm gonna pull those out to put a 3.9 differential in there, but I don't know what I'm getting into on those rear hubs on those axles. Can you tell me what I can do?
Yes, you're going to keep the original axles that are in there. You are going to change the rear hub oil seals. You are going to do that. So there's three oil seals back there, the pinion oil seal, and then one seal each on each of the hubs. Those are buggers to change. And when you look at them, you're looking in there and you're going, are these in backwards? How do these things go? But if you look at the hub from the outside of the car, which can't do when it's all put back together. But if you could, you would see the spring. You would see the spring from the on the inside of the oil seal. So that's the way that it goes in. Now, when you go to put the 3.9 diff in there, that's got a involute spline on for the half shaft, and you may have that same involute spline from the MGA, but probably not. So you want to take the spider gears, the differential and pinion wheels, out of the center of the differential and swap them with the MGA ones, so that your half shafts will fit into the pinion wheels, will fit into the spider gears. There are um, three different splines. There's like a six spline, and then you go to a 25, and then you go to a 26 spline involute. They used one of those for 10 months in 1959. It looks exactly the same as a B, but you put it together, let the clutch out, and all it does is go because it doesn't catch. So you just got to make sure you just use the differential wheels out, the spider gears out of the MGA in the MGB.
You're talking about spiral. What about
or
the
you can get the
hubs?
right axles.
Well, yeah, but that's a hassle. I mean, you already got the axles. So,
Well, the wire wheel axles for a MGB, for an early MGB, you can put new hubs on there, or the MGA hubs, for a 25 spline, they'll slide all together.
Wouldn't you be just changing the differential, the rack and pinion, the ring and pinion on there, that part right through there, change the spider gears in there over into the spider gears from your
Yeah.
old differential.
The-
But what I'm talking about is where you've got your axle shaft, your half shaft that goes into your rear uh, uh, hubs, the where the hub bearings are. Oh geez, I'm having a senior moment right now. Um,
so there's disc wheel half shafts and wire wheel half shafts. And the wire wheel half shafts are the same on the banjo, all the way through from 56 through 64, whenever they dropped it off. But remember, there are three different types of half shafts as far as the splines go. So that's why I'm telling you to use the original ones. The hubs are the same, MGA and MGB, except the MGB has half-inch studs in it, and the to hold the half shaft in place, and the MGA only uses 7/16 studs. So there is a difference in the hubs at the back end. It's difficult using the word hub because the wire wheel goes on a hub, but that's not the hub we're talking about. We're talking about the hub that fits onto the rear axle itself. So you want to keep those the same as the MGB, as the MGA. Keep your hubs the same. Just change the seals. The bearings never go bad. That's the rule. They do, of course, sometimes go bad, but hardly ever. You got to have a special tool to take those hub nuts off, um, and you got to be real careful putting the seals into the rear hubs. You got to do it by hand. You don't want to use a press because you'll wreck the hubs.
would that be on the front ones too?
No,
Okay, on the back ones, you've
those are
got
easy.
that little cover on that you look in there uh, from the outside of the spindle.
There's a freeze plug. All there is
Yeah,
a freeze plug.
yeah. You pull that one off.
No, no, you're gonna use your old half shafts. You're gonna use your old hubs.
Okay. So is there a paper seal or a O-ring seal behind that then?
Both. Yep. And
All right.
so, and if you want to be really cool, you gotta dress that all up with a flat file, and or you can drive the studs out of the hub. The hub's going to be off the car, and then put the hub on a plate and surface it so it's nice and smooth. But there's a spacer that's built into the wire wheel hub, and you can change, like Fred said, you can change those rear hubs on the car. Um, but you gotta find someone with a press, a huge press. I don't know how many pounds it takes. It's not your little home arbor press. You gotta have a great big massive press, and the guy has to know what he's doing because if he holds the hub wrong, he'll bend the flanges on it. Seen that happen.
Oh wow. Yeah, when I was the one front hub that I did, I had a 10 ton press on there. We had a devil of time getting the one out.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
You want to
So
hear a positive story about a MG find?
what's that?
A positive story about an MG find.
Yeah,
My friend wanted to buy an MG. He's like mine, so said there's one down in Columbus. Come down and look at it. So I said, well, I'm not a professional, but I'll look. Go down. It was a 65B. Body looked pretty decent. No major rust, and had all new interior parts, new custom exhaust, and nothing worked. No lights, no nothing. And the engine wouldn't start. And the guy towed it from Arizona. Had his brother-in-law look at it he couldn't get it to run. And I'm looking at the fuse box, and I said, Dave, I think you should buy the car. I don't wanna. I said, no, I think you should buy the car. They even gave him the tow bar to tow it home. We get it home. In his carport. I cleaned the fuse box. All of a sudden, we got lights and all the electrical stuff's working. Then I took the caps off the SU carburetors, the bolt Poplo covers. The gas evaporated. The floats were stuck shut. I tapped them, put it back. In 15 minutes, we had the car running. The best part about the whole thing was they didn't sign the title in the right place, so he had to go down and get it redone.
You
And he
drove the
car
car.
he said it was worth the trip just to see the looks on their faces. They couldn't get it running for 2 years. And,
That
just
wasn't nice.
it wasn't nice, but it was fun.
All right. So do we have some do we have some more questions about barn finds? If not,
Yeah,
yeah.
John. So this builds on that fuse box story. I've been using white vinegar to clean fuse boxes. Take the grub
Okay.
screws out, soak it for a day, take it out, just scrub it with a toothbrush. Have you had experience with that?
I've always had a sandblaster available, so we just take the fuse box off the car and put it in the sandblaster, and psst, it's like brand new. Put it back in. But you can use, yeah, sure, anything that's caustic. You could use lye. You could use lye. You can use acid. You got to be cautious. You can use ammonia. I got that idea from Ann Landers about cleaning pennies for Halloween treats instead of handing out candy, which is so bad for kids. Give them pennies, you know. This back in the day when a penny was worth something. But
And they have copper.
you can put the copper in ammonia and wait. Oh, it's a real short time, 20 minutes, and they're like brand new pennies again. So yeah, sure. Anything like that that'll clean it up is a good idea.
All right.
Is it worth changing the fuse box for a blade fuse? I noticed that there online you can now get a MGB fuse box that you can put the blade fuses in it.
Well, I'm
'Cause my second fuse, on the second fuse, I start the car up, go to turn the indicators on, get nothing, open the hood, fiddle around with the fuse box, the second fuse, turn the car on, works perfectly.
Well, you just clean the fuse box. Just clean it.
Okay.
I just me. I hate to see modern stuff put into the MGs. I mean, Paul Paul Probst told me once, you know, when he came by in the shop 3 shops ago, and he was looking for the cork seals that went around the U joints on his TF, and I said, well. Just buy a brand new Hardy Spicer U joint. It's got rubber seals. They're so much better than cork ones. And he goes, a new part here, a new part there. Pretty soon you got a Miata. I said, okay, okay, so I like to deal with the original stuff. And then every now and then I'll open up someone's bonnet and look inside it, and they got a dozen fuses in there. It's like, what is this, a Japanese car? And it's like you can make a case for it, but only you know what's going on. And I don't like the blade fuses are nice or handy. Switch them. They're common. They're modern. I will go so far as to advise you on a pre-68 car to switch it to negative earth. I will go that I will go that far, but that's about it. The
The
rest of it,
box I saw looked identical. If you put the cover on the box, it looked identical.
okay. All right.
Same.
Hey,
It's screwed in the same spots.
yeah, okay.
But as I said, it was one of those things I thought about. But I'm just going to clean it.
Yep.
John, can I ask? Because I have
Sure.
a pre-68 GT, and what's the thinking behind changing it to negative ground? Is it just because modern,
Yeah,
like for the
your father-in-law is driving it, leaves the lights on at the mall, someone jumps it backwards. I don't just it's modern. You want to put a radio in it.
right?
Then you can go through all the hocus pocus and isolate the radio. Bad idea. Or get a voltage inverter. I suppose you can still buy those, which doesn't invert anything, but it pushes the positive voltage up to 24 volts. So your 12 volt positive chassis now effectively becomes negative. There's a lot of tricks to do that stuff, but it just makes it modern. It just it make it
Yeah.
and it's you can't see anything except on like 65, 64 and a half around there through 67 mgs where the tachometer is positive earth. It's electric. It's an electric tach. It's
Hmm.
positive earth. And so you got to go through all the hocus pocus of switching some wires on the inside of it to make it work correctly. So at that point, you go, if you haven't got a radio, or if you got an original AM radio, the BMC radio or something, it still works. Just keep it. Yeah, keep it. But
Yeah.
we used to convince everybody to switch them, switch them over because it's except for that little tiny range. If you've got a rev counter, which is a cable driven tach, that's technically a rev counter. Tachometer is technically electric. If you got anything before that, switching it over to negative ground is real easy. Except T types, where if you want the ammeter to read correctly, you got to switch the leads, and it's way up underneath the dash. It's like just
Mm.
accept the fact that it's reading backwards, but everything else, the fuel pumps work okay, and the generators and the heater motors and all that kind of stuff, they all blow in the same direction. So
Yeah. I'm keeping it with the generator, so like
good.
I'm just
Good.
keeping it. But I don't have a radio. I don't, it's got a blanking plate, and the only thing that I'm going to do like to change it or to modernize it was to do LED bulbs.
Okay.
And try to improve sort of at least in the tail lights, some visibility improvement. Just because.
Is your headliner red in the
Yeah, and not just red, it's velour.
oh my.
And it is
So
not
this is
just the headliner, it is everything. It is the door cards, it is the seating. So someone had a good time with this. I joined because this is sort of a barn find, actually out of your neck of the woods,
oh
John. Cassopolis, Michigan, down
sure
southern part of the state.
sure
And I went out there. I'm in Massachusetts. I went out there, and to see it because I wanted, I didn't want to buy a car sight unseen, and it's you can't see the outside. It's damask red. Someone painted it, so it is all red all the time here. And so I'm keeping it as it is, because
hey
I just don't, the seats are fine enough, and
yeah
the fact that they're in velour, I mean, doesn't bother. It'll bother me come July, I'm sure. But aside from that, I think I'm just keeping it the way it is and just
sure
plugging away. So
nice
yeah,
Hey, Brian,
yeah,
I'm in Massachusetts too, so look me up sometime.
yeah. We've actually met before, Fred.
Have we?
Yeah. I think I dropped a set of rubber bumpers off at your house
Oh,
once.
yeah.
Sometime maybe a year ago now. I don't
Yes.
know.
oh
Yeah,
so
we chatted for a
you're
bit.
the rubber bumper guy.
Yeah. I had an extra set of them from an 80 that I had. And the ones that were on the car were fine, and I just had this extra set, and I just tired of looking at them, and
right.
Fred needed them for something, so
Well, my friend who has the 80 MGB that needed the bumpers, he's still working on that car. So he hasn't decided whether to fix his or use the ones that I got from you.
okay.
John, when you swap that car to negative ground, how many labels do you put on it, and where do you put them to say this car is positive ground?
We had them printed. We had them that says, it says warning, this car is wired negative earth. A lot of good that does. And as some
Right.
American
Nobody
guy
knows what
looks
that
at it and
means.
says, what does that mean? Yeah, but we had those printed up to put
So, So on
You
my
can buy those from Moss
72B,
too.
on my 72B, the when you open the bonnet right there, it says this car is negative earth. Now, was that something that MG put on, or was that something the PO put on?
No, that was MG because they were forced to go to negative Earth in '68 to commonize with a lot of other stuff, worldwide standards or something. And so since people in England were still so used to positive Earth, because the cars had been negative Earth up until 32, 33. I thought they were always positive Earth, and I said that one time, and Norm. Uh, 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 British car specialist, Stockton, California. No, my God, I can't.
I think I
Anyway,
was on that night. He told you that they were positive, I mean, negative earth free 30 something.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
So
So I remember the question I had. Several of our club members are rebuilding cars and they're looking for people to do work on the cars, like put in wiring harnesses and stuff like that. And I try to tell them that these cars are so damn simple, you got to do it yourself. And secondly, there isn't any modern garage that would know how. Is that reasonable advice?
that's the best advice anyone's going to get tonight.
Mm.
Yep. And my experience, I just put a TD wiring harness in last spring into a
All of
TD.
four wires?
Yeah, all four wires. And the harness is 10% bigger than the original harness, just in diameter. And so when you try to push it through the firewall and stuff like that, it does not fit. This is a new, I mean, this is the original cloth covered. You get the PVC harness, no problem. But if you get the original cloth harness, it's bigger in diameter. It's a struggle to get it into place. Some people are afraid of wiring, afraid of everything. But Jesus, just color coded. It's just really straightforward. But I would urge people to do all the reading that they can and work as well as they can, because your care in putting your car together is going to exceed that which you can buy, especially if there's so very few places left anymore. Randy Shuck works on cars in Midland, Virginia. He's out in the middle of the state. That's why they call it. Is that Midland? Randy, are you in Midland? Randy, you still on? Anyway, but there's some shops around, but they're few and far between with people that know what they're doing and will give you a value for your dollar.
Hey,
So
John,
yeah,
let me
Doug,
just add,
I'm sorry. I know I owe you one of my yellow tech books. I apologize for not. Anyway.
do the checkbox. It's done. We went ahead and had it copied out at a print shop, so you're good. No problem. Hey, but I just wanted to add, you remember the nuts that I ended up inside my engine and whatnot.
Yeah.
And in response to the question about getting electrical stuff done in the car and so forth, I can't express enough, and I know I'm preaching to the choir on this Zoom. Reach and lean on your club members. It is astounding when you put a couple heads together or a few heads together. You can figure things out, and it's very easy. That's how I got through my deal pulling an engine. That's what clubs do. That's what you're supposed to do.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what Leo Longs said from Victoria British. When you used to call British Victoria, you'd say, well, how do I fit that? And they said, sorry, no technical information. None, zero. Leo's approach was, we'll supply the parts. The clubs can supply the expertise. So anyway, thanks.
Wait,
I just like to share. It's groups like obviously the Zoom meeting and such that really helped me get this thing behind me working after it sat for 34 years in my garage. Um, and I mean, I did a whole nut and bolt restoration, but it was the Zoom meeting and club members that really helped get this thing back together. I didn't have anybody I could go to that could actually work on it. I mean, I did have it painted, and I had some interior work done, but those are pretty generic uh, uh, people you can go and trades you can go and talk to. But yeah, the mechanicals and all the stuff and the reading of the books, all that stuff was very helpful. And I'm having a blast since May when I got this thing running with it and try to get it out every week. So it's
Great,
fun.
great, wonderful.
We're really fortunate here in Ohio. We got the greater Cleveland area. We've got about four MG, British car mechanics. Number one being Steve Shivington. He's been doing this almost as long as you have, maybe longer, who knows? But because he couldn't find anybody to work on his car. So he became a British car mechanic. But picking his brain, picking your brain, people, different club members, it makes things a lot easier. And Gloria just told me she likes doing wiring. It's all plug and play.
It's just logical. No, adjusting an SU, you got to fiddle around, you got to listen, you got to do this and everything. But if the wire, if it's blue with red, it's the low beams. I mean, come on. I'm going to switch over to the chat section right now. David Basili's got a question here. When tuning up an MGB, what is the thinking about replacing the distributor cap and rotor? If you are going to change it, go to the red rotor. That's the ones that came out of Schlemmer. He made them first because the original Lucas rotors were bad for a while. So you can make a case for it, David. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. You can make that case for it too. Are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
It's just that the distributor cap and the rotor have been on there for a long time. And I just wonder, is there a point in time where you say, okay, time to remove and replace? They seem to work fine. I mean, I don't know what happens there with all that spinning and electrical discharging going on, whether the little metal pieces break down or what. I was just wondering if there's any sense of a frequency of changing that stuff.
If it's working, if you have a scope, you can look for gaps. You can't find a gap by measuring anything. So I know some people in the past, I'll see people take the rotor off and scrape it with a knife, so it's nice and clean. But electricity jumps through carbon just fine. So, scraping it, all it does is reduce the effective diameter of the wheel there. So, I don't, as a matter of course, I never change those. Always carry them. Always carry a rotor, but I don't, if it's loose, if it's loose or the metal is loose from the plastic or something, well, for sure, but not as a matter of course.
One thing I've
And
been
a
doing is
question back on the fuse box maintenance. What is a good technique for cleaning the fuse box?
Well, the one gentleman just earlier said he used vinegar. So you get to get the fuse. What year is your car?
Mine's an 80.
Okay, so you pull all the wires off the fuse box, take the two screws off, and either float or put the wait till your wife isn't home and put it in a cereal bowl and pour some ammonia on it. That works. Or pour some vinegar on it. That works. And then rinse it off, blow it off real well, and then pinch all the little clips, that hold the round fuses. Squeeze all those and then put the fuse box back on. Remember, the fuse box goes on, you can put it on upside down real easily. If you do, the car, you can't turn the car off. So it's an indicator that something's wrong. But anyway, just pay attention. There's a shunt on the top on the top for the parking lights. Just make sure that that goes back up on top.
Hey, John, Gary Greenspoon here with my 1980 as well.
Yeah, Gary.
Getting back to that fuse thing is when you pull the fuse off, you should resolder the bottom sides.
No, no, that's not necessary.
Okay, that's the advice. Hey, I did mine years ago that way, but it's also the advice that keeps coming up on the MGE. Okay, I'll leave it with you.
Okie doke.
Hey, John, going
Yep.
back to the rotor cap,
Yeah.
we've had two cars that we've had to on drives that have had a hard time making it back, and in both cases, it was a cracked rotor cap. They'd run, but they wouldn't run. They'd run crappy, and
Okay.
for to Dave's question, crank it up in your garage with the lights all turned off. If you see sparks, replace it. If you don't, you're probably okay.
Yep, on the cap. Absolutely. Another trick you can do in your garage at night is to take your Windex spritzer and just spritz the whole thing there with some fluid. Electricity loves dirt and water, and if you got something that's going to start breaking down, you'll see it. So thanks. That's a real good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Back when I first started off, when we're tuning a guy's car in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Tom Longa and I, trading as MGT series specialists, part of that was true. Um, we had um, a clear plastic distributor cap for a TD distributor, and the car ran like shit. It's just horrible. And Tom said, well, let's put the clear one on and see what's going on. And it was like the 4th of July inside of there. It's like, oh, well, bad condenser. And but I've never seen a clear cap since. So interesting. So I'm going to go on to my second question here. Marty's got a thing on here about YouTube, about something. The prior Zoom sessions. Thanks very much. Here um, we've got 59 MGJ to everybody. So there's an MGA that was stored in 72 until he bought it in 2009. And from 2009, moved it from place to place. Engine was frozen. Now it's here in Ohio, from New York to North Carolina to Ohio. I've now started the restoration, body repaired and painted. Now on the chassis, shocks replaced and moved on to the rear end. I will replace the pinion seal, but what needs to be done with the wire wheel hub? Oh, to switch into the 4-1. Yes, we already answered that at some length. Yes. Yep, absolutely. Okay. So, Judd asked about an hour ago, over an hour ago, did other people's screen just go somewhat weird? Not mine didn't, so I didn't notice it. Oh, Frank said it had, but it's all corrected. So, yep, so it must have been something there up there in the cloud. So here, Bill Weekly from Ann Arbor is comes in. He said there are inexpensive borescope apps one can get for a computer or smartphone. They're really very handy to investigate the condition of the cylinders, just in case there's a mouse nest or a pile of seeds that would cause problems. So those are really inexpensive. Forrest bought one, or maybe Mike did at my shop, just when I was turning the shop over to Forrest. And I take the conservative approach, saying that I don't need a borescope because if there's something wrong inside the cylinder, you got to take the head off anyway. So why get the borescope? But they're so cool, and you can look inside stuff and see what's going on. That is a fact. But for most of our applications, I'm not sure that they're really necessary because if there is something going on inside the engine that you can see if you put the borescope in there, whatever's wrong inside the engine, you got to take the head off. I mean, if it's a bad valve or a burned piston, the only thing that allows you to do is know what you're up against before you start to take it apart. So
Hey,
anyway,
John,
Judge,
the borescope is also very good for looking under the dashboard. If you're trying to find some kind of an issue with electrical or you
okay,
can't get your head down under there, I have one as well. It's worked out really good.
Judd's been flashing his there on
Yeah,
his.
the thing is, I've never actually used it. I've made sure it works and it hooks to my phone, but as far as going up under the dash is concerned, I just stick my phone under there and take a picture.
John, they're also super huge for working on plumbing projects around the house
Oh,
when the sink backs up.
oh my gosh. Oh,
Indispensable.
oh yeah. Well, hey, I mean, no, I'm just talking about MG applications. No, they're great. They're great tools. Absolutely. For underneath the dash, um, I'm still so old school and so conservative. I use a mirror and a light and bounce it into the mirror and illuminate what I want to see, study it, figure out what's going on, and then with the radio off, and my eyes closed, reach up underneath there and feel what I've seen. You can't see what you're doing. Although a borescope puts it to you in not in a negative image, I expect. So that's kind of
Maybe
cool.
maybe I bought an upscale one, but there's a light attached to the end of my borescope. So the whole under the dash is like daylight. It's a very inexpensive, great tool.
Inexpensive is $75.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
less than
no,
that.
no, less than that.
Bes-
Maybe 20, $30, maybe, I think.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's
Yeah,
just
because
so it's
it uses your phone, so they don't have to do any of that technology. All
okay.
they do is have a lens that connects to your phone, and you've already bought all the technology.
It's
Unbelievable.
cheaper than a
John,
colostomy.
John, the problem I've had with borescopes, and I've played with a lot of different ones, you stick it in the cylinder and you see the top of the piston. So to look at the valves, you've got to have a little mirror on the end of it, and you get a 45-degree angle picture, or 90-degree, but a good borescope like the one that the Snap-on dealer would love to sell you. You can stick it in the hole and look at the valves, but
Okay.
you're talking major dollars there.
I had six
Good quality
fingers up. I'd say
Yeah.
if it's Snap-on and it's a borescope, it's $600.
And
Besides the light, mine also has a magnet on it. That's how I found one of those nuts, John. I was
Okay.
able to pick it out, and then the rest went to hell. So
yep.
Yeah, those borescopes, it is creepy here. 1999, so that's what, 25 years ago, I had brain surgery and I had a massive tumor right in the center of my brain. So the only way you can get to it is by going up through your nose, poking a hole in the back of your nose, going through some pretty thin material that's back there. And I asked the guy who was doing the surgery, I said, "Well, how can you see what you're doing?" He said, "Well, I can't." It's like brain surgery blind, you know. And he says, "Well, I got a fluoroscope." And I'm thinking maybe I saw a fluoroscope once with like a green screen, something out of the 1930s. Today, you can go on YouTube and look at that same surgery, and they still go through your nose, but they got a little biter, they got a little suction tube, they got a borescope with a light, and they can see exactly what they're doing and snip, 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 and bite away whatever they're after. It's so unbelievable, the technology. And here we are with XPAG engines and generators, and it's good stuff. Though you can look at our stuff and understand how it works. Bill, yeah, Bill Weekly with you still on, Bill? Bill has left the building. Um, Mike Baldwin, good one, John, on rear brake sticking. Happened to my MGB, wondered why the front pads seemed to not last long enough. I've gotten in the habit of every few months, after a spirited drive on curvy roads, I'll either quickly touch the rear drums through the row style wheel slots. That's dangerous. Or use an IR thermometer to check the temp. So if it's hot, they're working. If it's cold, they're not. So that's a real good idea. Real good idea. And you can always you can those infrared thermometers, pyrometers, those things are so slick. You can walk around the car after a run and shoot all four tires. They should all be the same temperature. If one of them's higher, you don't haven't got enough air in that tire. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. Oh my God.
John, as my dad used to say back in the day, when you touch something hot, it didn't take me long to look at it.
Man, I burned the end of my finger one time on an MGC. It was so long ago, back in the real early 80s. And I've been driving the car. I don't even know why I wanted to touch the rotor, but right through the spokes, put my finger on the rotor. Oh, oh my
I didn't
gosh.
say rotor, John. I said brake drum.
Oh my gosh. So, we got a contact information for West Valley Instruments in Reseda, California. Although there is also a guy up who's used to work at Nissinger, and he does British Instruments. Something I don't know what the name of it is, but he's closer to New York City. Dean Webb, any tips on installing the window seal and inner white pieces on an MG midget? Oh my gosh. Also, won't the oil filter catch most of the or all of the swarf when doing a 20-minute break-in? Um, um, I got a thing in the way here. I can't read it. Or do you recommend replacing before you put 500 to 1,000 miles to finish the engine break-in to seat the rings? Anyway, Dean Webb has no mic, but he's listening. So, Dean, I'll answer the oil one first. No, you don't have to change the filter. I'd change it at maybe after 500 miles because there's just so much stuff that gets scraped away and everything. And just, the oil filter's so cheap. Oil's so cheap compared to an engine. Just do it. You're going to use that high zinc break-in oil to break the engine in. So yeah, after 500 miles, you want to do that. In the inner wipes and seals on the midget, of course, the glass has to be out of there. That's all I can tell you. Obviously you have to gut the door. I'm going to do that pretty soon myself because I'm working on a midget. Been working on it for a long time. And it's sometime this spring, I'm gonna end up having to put those seals in there. So, but I don't know today how to do it. You just got to look at it and figure out. I do not have an answer for that. I can't close my eyes and see it. So, Joe says you can buy a scope from Temu, Temu, for $20, $20. So. Doug, should a spare tube for a wire wheel be slightly inflated so it does not split when it's stored flat in the boot? Should the spare tube for a wire wheel be slightly inflated so it doesn't split while it's stored flat in the boot?
John,
Yes.
hi, this is Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Reason I ask is, well, Christmas Eve I went for a nice drive in one of my MGs and getting a flat tire. Um, uh, so anyway, I got it. I checked the spare wheel 2 or 3 times a year for air. So I got that fixed, and I had a spare tube. It was fine, but unfortunately, I didn't have a rim band. So Moss gave me great service. I called Thursday morning, and I got the rim band. And anyway, I got the tube put in the tire and put powder on the inside of the tire so friction wouldn't happen against the tube. But anyway, long time ago I had a spare tube, and I found it, oh gosh, a few years ago, and I'm in my MG garage today, unheated right now, speaking with you. But anyway, the tube, this is actually a made in England Dunlop tube.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's really old, and maybe you anyway, it's split. I can put my hand through the side of it. So these tubes come, folded up, and I'm just wondering, I thinking maybe putting a little bit of air in the spare tube for a wire wheel car, so it's not flat and don't have these creases built
That
into the tube.
that would make sense. That would make sense. I don't know how long a tube is. I don't know what the shelf life is on a tube. I'd want to use one pretty fast.
Yeah.
If it's over 10 years old, don't use it.
Okay. Anyway, you can see, maybe you can see it's. I actually have my hand inside of the tube.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
This made in England Dunlop tube. That I think I got it when I got my first TF, maybe back 20 some years ago, and who knows how old. But of course, the tubes nowadays are made in our favorite country. So, but anyway,
you bring it to the Chicago swap meet and sell it as an original piece, you know.
Okay.
When I stripped the tires off my TD in 1968, they still had red inner tubes in them.
Wow.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well anyway, yeah, so carry a spare tube and a spare rim band.
Yes.
So
That makes all the sense in the world. And when people say, where should I have my wire wheels changed? I always tell them motorcycle shops because that's what they do all day. They work with tubes and tires and spokes and stuff like that. So that it's rather than going to discount tire, where what did my customer tell me? They taken their wire wheel to discount tire, and the guy told him, he said, we can't put tubes in there. It's a safety hazard. He said, well, what kind of safety hazard? He said, well, your wheels can catch on fire if they've got tubes in there. So I don't know what what safety course they were taking, but you go to a motorcycle shop. That's
yeah,
the best place.
I also bought grommets from Moss, but they did not fit through the opening of the wire wheel, to protect the valve. So I hope they would fit, but they did not fit.
Yeah, the grommets are for the older style wheels. The newer style wheels have smaller openings. They don't take a grommet.
Okay, well these wheels are probably 30 plus years old anyway.
No, he means the style of wheel. I mean, you go back to, I don't know, 1950 or something or other, and the holes were actually, the diameter of the hole was larger then.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Okie doke. All right. Jim, Manchester. I've recently changed the main and rod bearings on my 63B. While I was at it, I replaced the oil pump, pressure relief valve, and the timing chain and tensioner. It started right up with no death rattle anymore, but it won't idle and pops back through the front carburetor. I hadn't removed the distributor or camshaft. It sounds to me that the valve timing is off, even though I thought I was very careful in lining up the dots. If you didn't line the dots up, it wouldn't run at all. I mean, that's not the issue. It has not, the valve timing is not wrong. Maybe when I released the tensioner, it threw off the alignment. I don't think that's the issue. I would check the compression. Jim, are you still on?
I am, yes.
Okay. I just checked the compression across the board, and just see if it's 120. I mean, nominally 120, right? I mean
I
that's
checked them all right before I took the engine out to do this. They were all 165 to 167, really
and
close to one another.
what are they now?
I didn't check it afterwards.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
check that.
I could.
If that's grossly off, yes, you missed. You missed. Oh boy, what a hassle changing that.
Yeah.
Almost never does that happen. So it's just something else. It's just because the car's been fallow for 7 months while you've been doing this, or
No, I drove it. It's
oh,
been running beautifully. Other than that, it was a prior Zoom meeting that I had asked
okay.
you, and you verified my fears about the death rattle when I started it up till the oil pressure got up there. Well, now with the
So
new oil pump and the new
were
spring,
were
it's
those
up
old
steady.
were those old bearings all coppered up?
They were, but they were beautifully worn. There was no galling.
Hey, that's what you're after. If the wear is nice and consistent, oh my
Very.
gosh, everything is retrievable. Oh,
And
very nice.
I plastic gauged them after I put it in, the new ones, and they measured right up. No
Wonderful.
galling on the journals. It would look beautifully worn. So,
Well, check the compression. If the compression's wrong, then I'm wrong. But the offhand, if you're off by a tooth, I mean you're off 17 degrees or something. It's just dramatic. I mean the car just doesn't run at all.
well,
So
that's good to know. I didn't really relish the thought of taking the radiator out and the pulleys off and everything else.
oh no, that's such a
But
terrible.
I static timed it at 14, degrees before with a buzz box that I have, so that works right through the points. And I didn't have enough arms to actually do the timing light for dynamic timing. So it's got to be something else. I don't. But it ran beautifully right up to the day that I took the engine out.
Okay. Tippy's dying for her.
Pat Garrett, he says right
I can
after my
pop off.
post says it could be a rotor or something else.
It's not the rotor, but check the compression and then call me. Call me tomorrow, or
Okay.
as soon as you get the timing, and I'll talk to you some more about it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. There we go. Okay, let's see here. Pat Garrity's got an easy way too, about setting the top dead center, making sure that the rocker arms have got the same clearance on the one on whichever number is firing. So over in chat, but that'll tell you, that compression will tell you all that you need to know.
I did take the valve cover back off and did put it on cylinder one, top dead center on a compression stroke. Both those rocker arms are equally loose. They're
Yeah,
nice. They're happy.
Okay. So it's something else then. So
Maybe I forgot a carb gasket or something stupid. Who knows?
something silly. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
There's some chatter on here about Marty's about what's I've got a speaker view on because I'm set for doing my putting these things up on YouTube. But Marty's got something behind her that's of her own artistic creation. So everybody was interested. Well, hey, it's 8:43 and we're down to it. We're all the way through the chat. So it's open line Friday. I'm happy, I'm happy to answer any questions. If there are no more questions, we'll let everybody go. Oh, wait. Fred, when are you available? Let me look here for January. What about the 13th? Are you available? Fred, are you available the 13th of January? Do you know?
It should be.
Okay, all right. Well, then we'll go for that, and we're gonna do some more carburetor carburetor work and getting more air through the carburetors. That's always
right.
fun stuff to do. You've seen the front of the front of
Yeah.
the bend radius, the front of the
Yeah.
pistons, and
Yeah.
maybe you've got some stuff you can bring along. I'll bring along some stuff. So I'll talk to you.
I don't have any modified ones, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay.
So I have something of interest I learned today that other people might be interested. We talked about LED lights a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I'm working on a friend of mine's MGA. It has an MGB motor in it with an alternator. We finally got it running. It's been a stalled restoration from about 15 years ago. And my buddy bought it last year, but I've been working on it ever since. We finally got it started just a few days ago. But the alternator wasn't working. Brand new alternator. Came with it. It has a Eaton supercharger on the engine with a HIF 6 carburetor. Anyway, wasn't charging.
What kind of alternator is this? A Lucas?
It's a Lucas-like.
Okay, all right.
Alternator. Well, my buddy insisted on having LED lights in the dashboard.
Okay.
Wasn't charging. Took the alternator off, had a local alternator shop test it. Worked just fine. He says, change out that LED bulb in the ignition light and it'll work. Changed out the LED bulb to an incandescent bulb, works fine. It needed a signal through the ignition switch to the alternator to get it to run, for it to charge.
That's
excuse me, Fred. Same thing. We were on a drive about a month ago.
Good.
One of our members with a Morgan.
You have a first name basis with all these guys? No, this guy dominates.
Here, I'm gonna hit the mute all button. So, Judd, go ahead.
Just finish up real quick. His car stopped charging, and he couldn't figure it out, and did the same thing. Had the alternator checked and everything. It was an incandescent bulb, but it had burned out, so it was not sending any signal to the. It was not coming on. It was not showing, that it wasn't charging, but it wasn't sending that signal. So it's got to be there, and it's got to be an incandescent bulb.
That usually with the Lucas, the original
muted,
Lucas
Fred.
alternators, that wasn't necessary. They didn't need any kind of voltage to create anything, but these later ones do. I ran into a problem with an LED bulb with a TR6. So a TR6 turn signal is you got your green with white and green with red wires that come up to the bulb. And if the green with white is winking, it's hot. It goes through the bulb and grounds out into the green with red. There's lots of filaments there, and so it just grounds out that way because you've only got one bulb. And the opposite is true. If you turn on the left turns and then the green with red comes on, it'll go through the bulb and ground out into the green with white circuit. But the LED only works one way. So the indicator on the dash only winked like on right hands or left hands, but it wouldn't wink on the opposite. So you need an incandescent bulb there too. TR6s. But this isn't a TR6 discussion tonight, but I just thought I'd throw that in for fun.
So can I chime in on alternators? So what you're referring to is the process of exciting the alternator. Alternators are unlike generators. They don't have a permanent magnet in them like a generator does. So they have to have current in order to make current. So there is such a thing as a self-exciting alternator. If you look in like a Summit Racing catalog, they have what they call a one-wire alternator. And you can put those on an MG, but you got to make brackets and so forth. But so yes, Lucas excites through the ignition warning light. And so when you turn the key on, the excitation current's going through the bulb to the alternator. Then when the alternator starts to charge, it sends the same potential voltage back to that bulb. So it's like positive to positive, which then the bulb goes out. Make sense?
It does.
Yep, got it.
So, and of course, when the bulb burns out, you got nothing. So, enough out of me.
So who drove their MGs today?
I've driven mine 3 times this week, and they're going out Thursday up in the mountains, and it's supposed to be 24 when we start.
Hey, I think you win. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has driven their MG more. Anybody had their MG on the road more than Judd?
Well, you know me, John, I drive mine every day, but it was like 75 degrees down here in Florida today.
Okay. All right. Fair enough, Marnie. Yep. Yep. So
Mine's up on jack stands, but I did take the windshield off today and a few other things.
oh my,
It's not,
taking the windshield off on a B is easy schmeezy. Well, almost easy. It's the other side. It's the other side of that process that's just a terror.
putting a glass. Nobody would. The last time I had replaced the windshield was an insurance job. Not one windshield place would do the MG. The last place I called, I'd never heard of it. I said to the lady, "Do you do MGB windshield?" She goes, "Oh yeah, is that a motorhome?" I just hung up. But so I talked to Steve Shivington. He used to do it and charge $1,100. So I called my insurance man and I says, Gloria and I can do it, but it'll cost $1,100. He said, okay. Immediately I thought I should have said 12, but we're going to have to do it again because it's
can't
just
see.
too pitted.
Oh yeah.
But the other thing about talking about the LED lights with turn signals, I had to go to Summit Racing and get a special flasher for my turn signals and for my four ways. And for my cruise control to work, I had to put a 5-pin relay. There's 2 different 5-pin relays. You got to get the right one, and then the cruise works fine.
Yep. There's you can buy those the regular 2-pin ones, or 3 pins for the earlier cars. You can get those at Napa. It's an EL, Echo Lima, EL 12 and an EL 13. One of them's got 2 pins. One of them's got 3. They're you can't put the wires on either way. It's polarized. You got to put it up the right way. But those things are so great. They'll wink with one bulb or they'll wink with 15, and it's always winking at the same rate. So they're very nice. They
Although they
replace.
seem loud.
What's that?
It sounds like the
flasher-
flasher is really loud.
Oh, okay.
But when you get older, you need that because sometimes you don't turn it off when you're supposed to.
That's for sure. That's for sure.